Let's be honest. For most of your life, society gave you a narrow and often silent message about self-pleasure. You may have been taught it was something shameful, private, or only acceptable when you were young. The unspoken rule was clear. This is something you're supposed to grow out of. By the time you hit 50 or 60, forget it. You were expected to close that chapter entirely. But here's a truth that rarely gets said out loud, especially for women over 60. Masturbation isn't just normal. It might be essential. I'm Dr. Jen Gunter, a physician with over 30 years of experience in women's health. I've worked closely with thousands of women navigating perimenopause, menopause, and the decades that follow. And if there's one thing I've seen again and again, it's this. Women don't stop touching themselves because they want to. They stop because they've been conditioned to disconnect. That quiet disconnection doesn't just stay in the bedroom. It ripples outward, affecting how you sleep, how you move, how you feel about your body, how you process emotions, and how you relate to others. Your body is deeply interconnected, and when you shut down one aspect of your sensory and emotional world, it creates subtle but powerful echoes throughout your health. Self-touch isn't about being sexual in the way media portrays. It's about staying connected to your body, your nervous system, your hormonal balance, and your sense of vitality. It's not about being provocative. It's about being present. So if you've been feeling like something's missing, or like you've started to fade from your own sense of aliveness, I invite you to reconsider what you've been taught about pleasure, because it may be the key to getting it all back. Let's start with secret one. Mindless self-touch can lead to numbness and discomfort. Over the years, I've had countless women sit across from me, lowering their voices in quiet frustration, sometimes even shame. They'll say things like, "I just don't feel anything anymore," or "I can only orgasm if I crank my vibrator all the way up." These aren't rare confessions. They're heartbreakingly common. And what many of these women don't realize is that the way they've been touching themselves, rushed, mechanical, and focused solely on climax, has unintentionally been training their nervous system to become less responsive. You see, your body is incredibly adaptive. When you repeat a specific pattern using high-intensity stimulation, the same pressure, and the same rhythm over and over, it builds what we call a neurological feedback loop. That loop reinforces one particular path to pleasure, and over time, all the others begin to fade. The result? Sensitivity drops. Gentle, loving touch no longer registers. Partner intimacy feels foreign, unfamiliar, and sometimes even frustrating. You might find yourself needing more stimulation just to feel something at all. And this is where the emotional toll begins. When your body stops responding the way it once did, it's easy to assume something's broken. Many women start to feel disconnected, not just from their partners, but from themselves. Confidence shrinks, desire dwindles, and intimacy, both emotional and physical, begins to feel like a distant memory. But here's the truth. You're not broken, you're overconditioned. Your body doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to relearn how to feel. That starts with slowing down, shifting away from performance-driven pleasure and toward conscious, exploratory touch, giving yourself permission to feel rather than finish. When you bring intention and presence back into your self-touch routine, your body starts to respond differently. Over time, sensitivity returns, arousal becomes more nuanced, and pleasure feels fuller because you're engaging your whole self, not just chasing a goal. The path back to sensation is real, and it begins with awareness, patience, and a willingness to touch yourself like someone you truly care about. Secret 2. Arousal is how you keep your pelvic region alive. Many women assume that once they're past menopause, their sexual organs simply become dormant, no longer needed, no longer active. But biologically, That's far from the truth. When you stop engaging with your own pleasure, whether through intimacy or self-touch, your body doesn't pause. It starts to decline. And the first area to show signs? Your pelvic region. Without regular arousal and orgasm, the vaginal walls begin to thin, the clitoral tissues receive less blood flow, and lubrication decreases significantly. This process, known as urogenital atrophy, can lead to a host of distressing symptoms: burning sensations, tightness, itching, painful intercourse, recurrent urinary tract infections, and even incontinence. These changes aren't just uncomfortable, they can greatly diminish your quality of life and lead many women to avoid intimacy altogether out of fear or pain. But here's what most women are never told. This doesn't have to happen. These changes aren't a mandatory sentence of aging. They're largely the result of disuse and neglect. Just like your heart needs exercise and your muscles need movement, your vaginal and pelvic tissues need regular stimulation and circulation to remain healthy. Arousal is not just about pleasure, it's about function. When you become aroused, your body sends a surge of oxygen-rich blood to the entire pelvic area. That blood flow nourishes tissues, enhances natural lubrication, maintains elasticity, and keeps nerve endings responsive. Orgasms, in particular, cause rhythmic muscle contractions that strengthen your pelvic floor, promoting bladder control and core stability. Think of arousal as a form of maintenance. It's like watering a plant or stretching a muscle. Without it, things dry up, stiffen, and weaken. With it, life returns, sensation returns. You don't need a partner to keep your pelvic health intact. Your body is fully capable of healing, responding, and thriving, but only if you remind it that it's still needed. Your pleasure is not indulgent. It's preventative care. And it could be one of the most powerful health tools you're not yet using. Secret 3. Shame is a health issue. For generations, women have been taught to view their sexuality through a lens of guilt, secrecy, or silence. Many were told from a young age that masturbation was wrong, dirty, or inappropriate. Some were scolded, others shamed into silence. Even today, many women carry that programming deep in their bodies, often without realizing how much it's still affecting them. But shame isn't just emotional, it's biological. In the medical world, we now understand that chronic shame acts like a persistent form of stress in the body. And long-term stress, as you may know, is linked to a wide range of health problems: weakened immunity, heart disease, hormone imbalance, digestive issues, anxiety, and even memory loss. It's not just a feeling, it's a chemical chain reaction. When you suppress or avoid your natural desires out of shame, your body registers that as internal conflict, triggering a fight or flight response over and over again. This means that every time you think, I shouldn't, or I'm too old for this, or what if someone found out, you're not just having a thought. You're telling your body it's unsafe to feel pleasure. Over time, that belief can suppress arousal, reduce sensitivity, and cut you off from your own nervous system. But here's the most powerful part. You can reverse this. When you begin to reclaim self-touch without guilt or secrecy, you shift your entire biology. You send a message to your brain and body that pleasure is safe, intimacy is healing, and you are still worthy of connection. Hormones rebalance, muscles relax, blood flows, and you begin to reconnect not just with your physical self, but with your emotional confidence and inner vitality. Self-touch isn't about performing for someone else. It's about restoring the connection between you and your body, between you and the truth that pleasure is your birthright, not a shameful secret. Letting go of shame may be the healthiest thing you do for yourself this decade. Secret 4. Your hormones respond to how you live. After menopause, many women are told, or simply assume, that their hormones have taken a one-way trip and that there's nothing they can do to change the course. Hot flashes, mood swings, low libido, poor sleep. These are often accepted as the new normal. But what's rarely discussed is how your daily habits and your relationship with pleasure continue to influence your hormonal balance long after menopause. Here's what most doctors don't explain. Your hormones are listening, not just to medication or diet, but to how you live. And yes, that includes how and whether you engage with touch, desire, and orgasm. Pleasure, especially orgasm, isn't just a nice to have. It's a biological event with measurable effects on your body. When you experience arousal and climax, your brain releases a powerful cocktail of hormones. Oxytocin, the love hormone that fosters connection and calms the nervous system. Dopamine, which boosts motivation and focus. Endorphins, your body's natural painkillers, and serotonin, which lifts mood and helps regulate sleep. Most importantly, pleasure also lowers cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. High cortisol levels over time are linked to inflammation, weight gain, anxiety, insomnia, and even cognitive decline. A regular, healthy connection to your own pleasure is a natural way to counteract that stress response and send your body a signal that it is still vital, vibrant, and worth nurturing. But when you stop engaging with yourself, when desire is ignored and touch becomes absent, your body begins to interpret that silence. It gets the message she's done. She's no longer interested in this part of life. And in response, the systems that support arousal, lubrication, mood, and energy begin to shut down. Not out of punishment, but because your body is incredibly efficient. It conserves energy where it thinks it's no longer needed. However, you can change that message. Even gentle, non-sexual self-touch, placing your hand over your heart, belly, or thighs with awareness, can begin to retrain your brain and body to stay engaged. You don't need to force desire. Just offer presence. The moment you reconnect, even a little, you tell your body, I'm still here. I still care. And I'm not done yet. And your hormones respond accordingly. Secret 5. Your pelvic floor is a use it or lose it system. Most women don't give their pelvic floor much thought until something goes wrong. A little leak when you laugh, sudden urgency when you sneeze, or a heavy feeling down below that wasn't there before. But these aren't just inevitable signs of aging. In most cases, they're signals that the pelvic floor, the network of muscles, nerves, and connective tissue that supports your bladder, bowel, uterus, and vagina, isn't getting the attention it needs. Like any other muscle group in your body, if you don't use it, you start to lose it. And the pelvic floor is especially sensitive to disuse. After menopause, as estrogen levels drop, blood flow to this area decreases. Tissues become less elastic and muscles naturally weaken, unless you actively maintain them. This isn't just about sex. This is about functional health, the ability to walk, laugh, move, and live without discomfort or embarrassment. A strong pelvic floor helps prevent urinary incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, constipation, lower back pain, and even poor posture. It also supports your core and contributes to your overall sense of stability and strength. Here's where it gets even more important. Self-pleasure plays a crucial role. When you engage in conscious arousal, even if you don't climax, your pelvic floor is activated. Muscles subtly contract. Blood vessels expand. Nerves fire. Oxygen and nutrients flow into tissues that would otherwise become dry, stiff, and unresponsive. You're not just experiencing pleasure, you're doing preventative health care. Orgasms, in particular, provide one of the most effective natural workouts for the pelvic floor. During climax, your body produces rhythmic contractions that engage the entire pelvic region. It's a kind of internal Pilates, strengthening from the inside out. Even if you're not reaching orgasm every time, regular engagement keeps the system awake. It prevents the slow fading of sensation, tone, and function that so many women assume is unavoidable. But don't wait until something feels off to start paying attention. The earlier and more consistently you engage with this part of your body, the better your chances of avoiding long-term issues. And even if you're already experiencing symptoms like leaking or discomfort, reconnecting with your pelvic floor through mindful touch, movement, or even guided self-pleasure can make a profound difference. Your body is always listening. When you ignore your pelvic floor, it begins to shut down. But when you reconnect through breath, awareness, gentle touch, you send the message that this area still matters. And that message has power. Your pelvic floor isn't gone. It's waiting to be remembered. So here we are at the threshold of a conversation most women were never invited into. For decades, we've lived with half-truths, outdated beliefs, and the deafening silence surrounding women's pleasure, especially after a certain age. We were taught that desire fades, that intimacy becomes irrelevant, that self-touch is something secretive or shameful. We were told, directly or indirectly, to quietly slip into invisibility when it comes to our sensual selves. But now you know better. You've learned that self-pleasure is not an indulgence, not something to grow out of, and certainly not something to abandon as you age. It is, in fact, a foundational part of your health, physical, emotional, hormonal, and even cognitive. The data is there. The stories from thousands of women echo the same truth. When we stop engaging with our own bodies, when we let disconnection settle in, something essential dims. Not just in our relationships, but in our vitality, our self-worth, and our ability to feel at home in ourselves. This disconnection wasn't your fault. Most women don't stop touching themselves because they want to. They stop because they were taught to disconnect. And that quiet disconnection carries a cost. Muscles weaken, nerves dull, blood flow slows, hormones shift, and perhaps most heartbreakingly, we begin to forget how it feels to truly feel. But here's the good news. Your body is always listening. And it's never too late to begin again. Every breath, every moment of stillness, every gentle, curious touch is an invitation back into connection. You don't have to chase orgasm, prove anything, or perform for anyone. This isn't about being sexy in the way society defines it. This is about being present, being alive, and honoring the truth that your body is still yours and it still matters. The pelvic floor doesn't have to weaken. Desire doesn't have to disappear. Vitality doesn't have to fade. These are not the inevitable results of aging. They are often the consequences of being taught to go silent. But silence is not your only option. You have every right to reclaim your pleasure, your voice, your space. You have every right to rewire the messages you were given and to choose a different path, one rooted in awareness, softness, strength, and truth. You are not broken. You are not past your prime. You are not done. You are in a chapter of deep wisdom and profound power. And now, with the knowledge you've gathered, you can move forward in your life not from disconnection, but from integration. You can remember that your body isn't something to get over or merely put up with. It's something to tend, to listen to, and to celebrate. So take a breath. Place your hand gently over your heart, your belly, your thighs, wherever you feel called. Let your nervous system feel your own presence. Let your body know I'm still here. I still care. I'm not giving up on you. This is your time, not to become someone new, but to return to the fullness of who you've always been. To claim your sensuality as wisdom, not shame. To let pleasure be a part of your health. To let your body be seen and felt, not just by others, but by you. You don't need permission. You don't need to apologize. You just need to come home to yourself. And that home, the one where you are whole, alive, worthy, and fully present, has been waiting for you all along. If this message spoke to you even in a small way, I'd love for you to let me know. Leave a comment and tell me what part resonated with you most. What have you learned about staying connected to your body over the years? And if you believe more women need to hear this, hit the like button. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. And don't forget to subscribe, because we are just getting started. There's so much more to explore about pleasure, health, and aging with power, and you deserve to be part of that conversation.